American History X.
Yeah.
It's about time. It's about time you showed your true colors.
I need the tattoo, but yeah.
Your color has always been skinhead.
Uh-huh.
That's been your color. Otherwise known as nude.
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations. How do you feel about your new persona? You good? Like,
how
many scalps do you have?
Yeah, how many scalps do I have? How many Mexican grocery stores have I harassed?
You only harass them? They deserve a lot more than that. Come on, brother. You want to talk about
half of that? I was going to say I like the first half of that movie before it gets kind of gay, but
you know, I've actually never seen it.
Oh, really?
I've never seen that, or this is crazy to people. I've never seen Fight Club.
You never seen Fight Club? Wow.
I've never seen Fight Club or American History X, which is why I'm not like that's why I haven't really reached like full racism.
Or
I'm trying to
like full Gen X. You're like losing out on your Gen X power.
Dude, so you think those are Gen X movies?
Well, I mean, they were made by Gen Xers. They were made by like they're both like 90s whatever, angry, violent, frustrated men who are kind of liberal but still have testosterone in them.
The thing is, it's not about race. It's all about women.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh yeah, you commissioned my like 300-page misogyny report for this show last week. That was my assignment, is to...
Oh, right. I forgot. Yeah. Yes. This is Michael's new... We're going to be teaching courses on misogyny at Unregistered Academy. We might actually. Yeah. I have had people, including like a pretty prominent psychoanalyst of all things in San Francisco, like strongly recommend to me that we have courses on the history of women. Mm-hmm. And the idea of the woman, which I'm actually into, and we might even do that at some point. But what we want from you, though, is the real history of women, what they're really about.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you're such a young lad, and I am such an old man, and I have spent so many years trying to find the truth that you seem to have stumbled upon at birth. Mm-hmm. But let's not do this, because we will get demonetized.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the news instead of how...
Okay. Yeah.
But, yo, you're going to keep that hairstyle, okay? You understand me?
Well, yeah. I mean, it looks good at every stage, and I've done this a couple times. I've shaved my head a couple times.
No, for real.
Yeah, it grows back fast, but
looks so good. And also, like, your generation, you guys are into the long, disgusting hair, I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the Zoomer shit. You fucking long hair on dudes again.
Well, yeah. No, the problem with me is like, whenever I start dating somebody, like whatever stage my hair is, long or short,
it's big.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you and I.
Yeah,
you and I have the same problem. Our hair doesn't get long; it gets big.
Yeah.
Mushroom head.
You know, the ladies like to play with all the flowing locks. And...
No, they also like to play with stubble.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get it twisted. You're on the right track, young man. You stay right where you are. You just keep going. Trust me, you'll find benefits down the line from this. Okay, so what are we going to do today?
Mm-hmm. So we've got... I mean, I like the Nord Stream pipeline story. Honestly.
Yeah, let's do it. So, and I want you, so you're going to lead this, but let me do the background, and then you do the news hit on it. So, because, you know, not everybody knows about the history of the Nord Stream pipeline, because not everybody's a political geek. Although, you know, as you said that, I'm thinking about it again. I'm like, wow, that was just an amazing moment of really mass violence, because you're talking about like destroying not just a pipe, but you're destroying the energy supply for an entire continent or half a continent. You know, really wrecking the economy of much of Western Europe, certainly of Central Europe. And the idea that it was self-inflicted, well, at least I know the Wall Street Journal, you're about to tell us, has a different idea, but
Mhm.
most people who, have a couple brain cells and a couple points of IQ who have looked at this all conclude that it was, of course, either the US or Ukraine or some NATO state or some combination thereof, obviously, that blew up the damn pipeline, because they'd been threatening it for years, openly and publicly. Biden, von der Leyen, Newland, Victoria Newland had all made statements publicly about their desire to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. And then when it happens, and the foreign minister of Poland, who's a big U.S. cuck, and he's married to Anne Applebaum, who's another neocon cheerleader for the war against Russia, etc. He tweets the day after, or the day of, I think, thank you, the United States. He says, thank you, with a picture of the bubbling, the remnants of the Nord Stream bubbling up, the bubbles in the Atlantic Ocean coming up from the blown up Nord Stream. He says, thank you, United States. This is the foreign minister of Poland, NATO member, leading cheerleaders of NATO, leading cheerleaders of the war against Russia. He says, thank you, Ukraine. Oh, no. So we all know why. And of course, the motivation's obvious. It's to destroy Russia's major economic lifeline, at the time at least. We now know that they're more self-sufficient, but then everyone, including Russians, believed that we knew that this was the most important portion of the Russian economy, was their oil exports. And the Nord Stream, their oil exports to Europe, the most important part of their exports. So this was obviously economic war. And the entire West denied it and then started to blame. Then they blamed Russia for doing it themselves. Yeah, it was an amazing thing. I mean, it really is so aggressive and so direct and so shameless. Again, it's what the United States has been doing increasingly in recent years in protecting and projecting its empire. So what's the latest news? And this was in 2015? No, sorry,
2022.
22. Yeah, 22. So 2 years ago. Yeah. So what's the latest news from the Wall Street Journal on this?
Yeah. So, turns out it wasn't Putin. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. But we all had the right reasons to assume it was Putin because he's crazy. So he just blows up his own infrastructure because that's what he does. It wasn't the CIA and it wasn't Zelensky. It was just a rogue group of business people of Ukrainian descent who had initially collaborated with Zelensky with this plan to blow up the pipeline. But at the last minute, Zelensky said, you know what, we shouldn't do this. The CIA says you shouldn't do this. And then they just went rogue and independently of their own volition, rented a yacht, got some divers, and blew up the pipeline.
Oh, is it that boat they found a while ago? What's the name of that boat again? There's a name. It's funny. This was like a year ago when they accused these guys on a yacht or something of blowing it up, who are Ukrainians, like private actors. Right.
Yeah,
that's
the idea.
Yeah, the boat has a name, I think. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is just. Do we need to explain? I mean, it's obviously bullshit. It's obviously propaganda. It's obviously massive dissembling to keep us from looking at what actually happened. And again, it's just amazing. 1% roughly, only 1% of the populations of the United States and Europe pay attention to this stuff on a serious basis, like really pay attention to geopolitics, And so, the 1% who do know about these things, there's not even any pretense among like the think tankers, the pro-US think tankers. They don't pretend that Russia did it. They just don't talk about it. But the other 99% of the Earth's population, unfortunately, we have to educate nonstop around the clock about these things because they just don't know. And all they know is the headlines. And they know, since their entire understanding of geopolitics is formed from consuming one or two headlines a week. I mean, most Americans, they don't know a thing about politics. They assume that Russia is just evil, Putin is evil, and so whatever they do is bad, right? I am positive that is the way that the majority of Americans have been conditioned. Now, I will say again, a majority of Americans don't even know who Vladimir Putin is because they don't watch the news at all. Just a remarkable thing. The world's most far-flung, most powerful empire in human history, we dwarf Rome. We dwarf the British Empire. Is populated internally by a majority of people who truly, I mean, again, we're not exaggerating when we say these things. They don't know anything about politics. It's certainly about geopolitics. It is a remarkable zombie empire run by this teeny tiny little elite who do know where all the countries are and where all the enemies are. But anyway, yeah, yeah. So let's talk. Bring us back. Focus us. Where are we?
Well, yeah. I think this is relevant because it's a memory hold. Like that this story was like not mentioned almost at all when it first happened, and yeah, explained away, and then now we have this explanation about it, and then now we have Ukraine going into Kursk in Russia. Yeah, so I mean, the story of this is that Zelensky and his top general were collaborating with these people, and it was their plan, but they called it off, but the people went rogue anyways and did it. Like, I don't know how in an international court that would suffice. Like, I think there's still some accountability if this is the official story on the part of Zelensky and the Ukrainian government. So Clint Russell was talking about this. You have the Ukrainian government basically attacking a critical piece of German infrastructure right now. And so that should be seen as an act of war by a non-NATO member on a NATO member. And if we're going to invoke Article 5 against anybody, it should be against Ukraine.
Yep. Yes or no? Yeah. Yeah, this is a remarkable moment. But it's been a remarkable moment for 3 years now, in which, again, it's all because 99% of Americans really don't know anything about this and don't care. And the 1% who do care know everything about it and care passionately about it. And they control all the information flow. It's I mean, I think about this almost every day. I mean, that's the situation we're in. Again, the world's largest, most powerful, most lethal global empire in American in world history, again, dwarfing the Roman Empire in terms of its influence. We're everywhere. The United States has bases everywhere, and nuclear weapons everywhere, and nuclear submarines everywhere, with nuclear missiles ready to fire at anybody everywhere at all times. And the Roman Empire never had that. I mean, this is and again, I'm going to say this just again and again and again until we have some kind of radical change. But that country, that power, that military force, the leader of that military force is selected. He is selected by a population that knows nothing. I mean, really, the vast majority of Americans know nothing. They don't know what continent Ukraine is on. Am I exaggerating, everybody? Do you guys know Americans? Have you been to the 7-Eleven? Ask the people at 7-Eleven where Ukraine is, what continent. You know they won't. You know that most people in line at Starbucks will not be able to answer that question. Isn't that an amazing thing? Nuclear superpower, global nuclear superpower with military bases, 500 of them everywhere. and the ability to destroy the whole world in minutes, and the people who decide who runs that thing, the commander-in-chief, are ass ignorant about the world. And I'm not even sure what I want to say about that. I just want to keep pointing this out that it's like there's like a needle pointing upward and the whole globe is like balancing on that needle. And so far in my lifetime, it hasn't fallen off that needle. But I really feel like we are that precarious, given that situation, that we have created in the world a massive, technologically unprecedented, lethal superpower that is a democracy formally. And it is. I mean, we do actually select the commander-in-chief, the American people. They do. And the American people know nothing collectively. I mean, no, they really do. Like, take the bottom 80% of the American electorate, the bottom 80%, and ask them any question about geopolitics. We all know they will know nothing at all. And that is just terrifying. I don't even know what the answer is, what the way forward is. I mean, other than continuing to try to educate these people. But we are at any moment able to enter into a species-ending conflict because that superpower is effectively determined, run by ignoramuses. I mean, it is really, it's also sort of comical, darkly comical, and I'm not exaggerating. This is just why, like, how long will this last? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like we're driving at 100 miles an hour on the freeway, drunk, and we're so far we haven't crashed, but it seems inevitable.
I think Americans are so ignorant on foreign policy because foreign policy is conducted in secret, and foreign policy is largely unpopular. Americans have always had anti-interventionist instincts, at the very least. And I was talking with a friend of mine who's a professor from Columbia, the country. And he was asking about, he was asking about what's the American education system like in the United States, because he's encountering undergrads and he's trying to like, hey, we're talking about Chile today, and you know,
I'll tell you what it is real quick. I'll tell you what it is. It's no worse than Columbia's public education system. And I mean that because I got 0 out of it. Columbia can't do worse than 0. Sorry.
Yeah. But you know, talking about like it's a music class, but it's about like learning about people through music, you know, and let's look at Chilean music. Well, what was happening to Chile in the 1970s? The CIA did a secret coup on Chile. And so before then you have folk songs praising Ho Chi Minh. And then afterwards you have protest songs. And like nobody is aware that there was a secret coup in 1973 in Chile. Nobody knows about the coup in Iran. Nobody knows about how like American foreign policy has been basically to install sympathetic leaders everywhere in the world and install military bases everywhere in the world in secret and without congressional approval.
Right.
I think that's by design because they couldn't do it if it wasn't in secret.
So one of the most, and this might even be the theme, one of the most common criticisms or retorts of the pro-empire crowd. I mean, the people who defend American foreign policy, the think tank people, but, you know, like podcasters who are on that side. And they might even be liberals, you know, like New York Times is a great example, you know, like Pod Save the World, those guys. And I listen to them all the time and they're really interesting. Ben Rhodes is fascinating. He was basically Obama's foreign policy intellectual advisor. You know, and they'll have major critiques of U.S. foreign policy, but like they're always interested in maintaining the American empire. But yeah, I mean, it's, there is, it's a religion. It just really is a leap of faith that you must take or not. And again, there's very few people who do this. It's such a strange thing. I mean, personally, in my own life, like, again, I've been around these people. I mean, I've been around, where I've lived and stuff. And I was at Columbia, and like, even there, there was hardly anybody who like wanted to become a foreign policy expert, and become the foreign policy leader and determine, how the world is shaped and run, determine whether there's going to be a war or peace. But yeah, yeah, sorry, I got kind of off
the main criticism of theirs.
Of what?
About people who support the modern foreign policy. Their main criticism is,
sorry, I got where did we go? This is the problem when you have an abstract mind. No, their main criticism of the establishment is
I don't know. This is your criticism. I don't watch Pod Save the World.
Would you stop trying to confuse me? Fuck, I forgot where I was. Wait, what was I? Shit, where am I going? No, it was about that basic religious commitment to American empire. But shit, I lost track there. It was they totally criticized the tactics and strategies even. But the basic commitment remains the same.
Mm-hmm. Like Obama calling Iraq a dumb war.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The idea, the fact that he called it, that was his criticism, was that this was a dumb war. That's all you need to know, right? Like, the problem was the strategy of implementing this war. It wasn't the basic idea of the war to maintain the American empire, which is what the war was fought for. And that's what Obama says in that article. What's it called? Something American leadership, renewing American leadership in foreign affairs, right before he runs for president in 2007. Yeah. So again, Obama, Rhodes, this is the classic moment. This is the classic move of the liberal establishment imperialists who run foreign policy. They're always seen as like Kennedy. So John F. Kennedy sort of established this template. Obama really very much renewed this template and look at this. This is kind of an amazing figure if you think about it. The massive mainstream political celebrity like John F. Kennedy, like Obama, right? Who they've convinced the normies, the vast majority of the population, the 90%, the people who will vote and they know nothing else, that they are peaceniks. Go on the street in America and ask people if John F. Kennedy was for peace in Vietnam or for peace in general. What do you think they're going to say? 90+% will say, of course he was. Of course he was. Same with Obama. Was Obama for war or peace? Ask normies, people who are not political, but sort of like voted and, the vast majority of Americans will say, oh yeah, he's for peace. Shit, right-wingers will say he's for peace because they don't like him, because they wanted war. But that is actually, it's an incredible thing that the liberal internationalist imperialists established in the psyche of America, the cultural psyche of America, since Truman. Do we think of Truman as a mass murderer and a warmonger? No, we think of him as the guy who was like desegregated the military, killer, and he expanded welfare. That's how we're taught about him. I mean, the greatest sadist mass murderer of all time in American history. He is the champion, just body count wise. So, damn it, what was the damn point I was going to make though? Something other than that. Let's do the news though.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk Trump. I want to talk about Trump and Elon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This interview.
Yeah, Trump returned to X. He's posted a couple times. He posted the mugshot once, and he posted like maybe a fundraising thing. But now he's like full on back to posting on X, formerly known as Twitter. And he had a 3.5-hour space conversation with Elon Musk that reached over 1 billion impressions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to it.
Mhm.
Did you listen to it?
Not all of it, no. Parts of it. I mean,
Okay.
to go with Michael Tracey's criticism of it, it's like it's basically a campaign donor talking to Trump. It's not like an actual interview. It's
Yeah, it's embarrassing. I mean,
but
yeah. I mean, I feel embarrassed for everybody I know who loves Elon Musk, who has like promoted Elon Musk recently. It's a lot of people. I feel embarrassed for any Elon Musk fan. I don't feel embarrassed for the Trump fans because Trump wasn't bad, I guess, except for his lisp, which has suddenly emerged.
That's a result of compression. That's a result of audio compression on the platform.
Are we sure?
Yeah, he released video of him like in the room, and he doesn't have that going on. Yeah, that's happened before on Twitter Spaces with other people. That's just a compression audio quality thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, he sounds like Sylvester the cat, suffering succotash. It's like, I don't know, man. It sounded pretty bad to me. The other thing is, it didn't sound like Trump. He was like really high on Adderall, I think, or it almost sounded like a stand-in. The pace, the volume, the tempo, the energy was just like super methy. He was very
yeah.
And then Elon, oh gosh. I was embarrassed for him. I mean, just about this worst interviewer I've ever heard. He has no idea how to talk to people. He's so autistic. He has no idea how to have a conversation. Did you notice? So Trump would say, he would start talking, and Elon would keep trying to butt in. And then what did he want to butt in with? Not another conversation, not another question, but another like lengthy soliloquy from the autistic libertarian library of why such and such a thing is a bad thing. You know, why government regulation is bad, or he'd give like the libertarian 101 about this or that political issue. And then sort of let Trump talk. I mean, it was like, does this, again, autistic young men, please learn how to talk to people.
Yeah. Well, it's less of an interview and more of a live recording of a schmoozy donor like dinner conversation. Like you know, if you pay enough to the campaign, you get to call them up on the phone. It was basically that, but broadcast to everybody.
Who wants to hang out with Elon Musk? Really? Trump, I understand. No, but why? Who would want to hang out with Elon Musk? Like, based on this interview alone, this guy has no idea how to talk to you. He has no idea how to understand you. He has no idea how to ask questions that would lead to a greater understanding on his part of who you are. Here's the worst part. He's not interested. He's not. That's why he's bad at asking questions about the other person he's talking to. He's not interested. And that's the problem with autistic guys. They're not. No, I mean, what's great about them is they can code the fuck out of everything and create amazing world-changing apps. And this is why we need autistic guys. And I mean this, and God bless them. But we need to keep them in bunkers in San Jose, underground, away from people with lots and lots of servers and terminals and monitors and just keyboards where they can just go. The problem is one of those Morlocks came from underground, from South Africa, and he managed to escape from the Morlock little asylum we established underneath San Jose for the coding. And he escaped, and suddenly he made a bunch of money, and then he started like talk in public, and then people were like, oh, he's smart, and let him talk in public, and oh, let's give him the biggest social media platform in human history, and oh, then he should interview all the presidents and the ex-presidents, and he should even determine who the next president is, because he's so this is a catastrophe, and Elon Musk has to be stopped because he's an autistic 12-year-old. Did you listen to that fucking interview?
I mean, I don't see Elon Musk as a media guy. It's more like, yeah, I know. But
Excuse me, what? Oh, okay, right. Gotcha.
I never had high expectations in the first place. To me, he's just a guy that makes Cybertrucks and flamethrowers. And what's not to like about Cybertrucks and flamethrowers?
The
and,
Cybertruck? Oh, dude.
Yeah.
This is part of my leftward journey
Uh-huh.
over the last year. I'm reuniting with my left past, my left lineage. When I saw a Cybertruck on the street,
resentment towards wealth and power.
It's not even that. I really don't care. Like, it's fine that you're rich, or I'm not even sure these guys. You know what? That's the thing, actually, is that the guys who drive Cybertrucks are not the richest. They're not even rich, like upper middle, maybe. They're so ugly. And again, this is the autistic aesthetic. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, America, the world, listen to me right now. Would you like to have autistic men like Elon Musk determine the way your world looks? Would you like for Elon Musk to determine how your house is designed and decorated? Okay, that's what he's trying to do, guys. Elon Musk thinks he knows the best way to design things to make, like, you know, how he took Twitter with its lovely little bird logo and said, no, we need an X in black and white because I have no idea about aesthetics because I'm autistic. I'm not fucking around. Look at the Cybertruck. Is that like, who is that? To whom is that aesthetically pleasing? It's the kid who watches the dystopian science fiction movies about conquering foreign, faraway planets and unloading the military vehicles onto the planet with your giant gun and the hot, Marine lieutenant next to you, and you fight aliens and monsters and dragons, whatever this is what Elon Musk is. He's just the most successful of them, of the Morlocks. Okay.
There is something to be said about like Trump's superior aesthetics being dragged down to cringe aesthetics by Elon.
Yeah.
You're starting to see Trump share Elon's memes, and it's like, Trump, you're not that guy. You're not the nerd. You're the billionaire real estate mogul. You're the campy, like, opera singing
boomer.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, Trump's aesthetics are not mine, but they're aesthetics. Like, they're thought through, they're generational, they're institutional, they have a history. There's many people, like, there's also like emotional resonance, even, in multiple parts of it, even the stuff I don't like there's a depth of emotional investment in boomer trad politics, clearly, right? That's the whole problem with geek culture, and Elon is like the king, super king, imperial king, whatever, of geek culture, is that it's soulless because they're autistic. And I mean this, like, they're incapable of understanding other people's feelings. That's what that means to me. They simply don't get what you're feeling, and they never can. And so they just continue to go forward in this linear fashion, telling everyone what should be done in the world. And that's Elon Musk. And also, by the way, the dude has built his entire, as I understand it, career, industry, multiple industries on getting government contracts. Am I wrong?
Yes, that's the other thing. Not only is he a mega donor to the Trump campaign, he is also a military contractor to the United States government. Yeah.
But isn't Tesla like up to here in government contracts? I believe.
Oh,
so.
yeah,
I
with
think
the electric vehicle thing too. Although,
all of it.
Yeah.
He's got more government contracts, I think, than any other in terms of like net, value, than any other businessman in history. He is completely at the teat of government, and yet he goes on talking about small government regulations bad, government's bad. I'm like, what is happening, guys? And then I have so many friends who think this dude is cool. We haven't even talked about Twitter, which I will always call it. And what did he do with Twitter? Oh, I'm a free speech absolutist. Cool. Oh, awesome. I'm going to bring back all these right-wing racists who got banned, which I'm for. And then right after that, what does he start doing? People get banned from Twitter who Elon Musk himself and only himself doesn't like. And that's how it's been for 2 years now. If Elon doesn't like you, you get banned. But if you're like some right-wing troll from 2014, you get reinstated.
I do think him buying Twitter was heroic. I do think that it's comparable to what Steve Bannon did as far as for the Trump campaign. You basically create an open forum at first, and then you narrow it down and blast the amplitude message of MAGA. But I think, it's like Meta and Facebook are MSNBC, Google is CNN, and X is Fox News. You have one popular alternative that leans right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we now have a choice as a consumer as to how our information works and what rabbit holes we can go into.
I mean, sure. I guess it's an improvement. Although it's so boring now. Like Twitter's like it just feels dead. For better and worse. I mean, it's like less anxiety provoking, but it's also less exciting. It's just not, I don't have nearly, it doesn't have nearly the crackling energy it used to have. When you would go on Twitter, when some tweet you sent went viral or whatever.
People aren't getting canceled off of Twitter like they used to also, which is
that's what
probably an improvement. Like that probably makes it feel dead because the stakes are gone, but it's great that nobody is doxing and harassing people and canceling like they used to.
I don't see Twitter, what were they called? Swarms? Not swarms. Mobs. Twitter mobs. I don't see that anymore. Right? I can't remember the last like real legit Twitter mob, which used to be a daily thing.
Yeah.
It was daily. Somebody was getting destroyed every day for quite a while. It just doesn't happen anymore. It feels like there's less velocity on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like things just don't take off and gain traction and gain speed and gain danger too. There was just like a lot of scary forces on Twitter that were kind of uncontrolled that could destroy people's lives and careers. And like, libs of TikTok, my least favorite human being on earth.
That being said, like Biden withdrew with a Twitter statement. Like it's still the place where news happens. Like it's it is kind of amazing that the discourse that determines the politics and the policies of the United States of America is created on Twitter. Like I think what is said on Twitter sort of collectively is probably more determinative of what US policy will be than what is said inside the White House. I mean, what is said inside the White House, for one thing, is always, of course, very much connected to and responding to and reacting to what is said on Twitter. It's even part of it. It's even been integrated. You'll see actual conversations on Twitter that are, that policymakers are participating, and you can see their minds being sort of formed around certain issues on Twitter that then become law. But yeah, I mean, I think you're even understating it, the importance of Twitter. That is where everybody who has any determinative effect on politics in the United States of America is. That's where they operate. That's where they perform. That's where they gain followers. That's where they change people's perceptions and minds. That's where they establish the discursive framework for all the big questions. Yeah, that's where the fight is had, is on Twitter. And really only Twitter. To some extent, Facebook, but that's really just sort of boomers. Twitter is where the actual players are. And it's only Twitter. It's on no other social media platform. It's not on this legacy media. It is not in the New York Times. It is in Twitter. That's where, if you want to make
a change in politics, you can, and that's the only place you can make a change in politics. And, I mean, I know people, I'm thinking of like Bridget Fetisi, who was a bartender and a waitress in Los Angeles in 20, whatever, 15, 16, and then just started a Twitter account and started tweeting sort of, provocative, funny, smart, questions sort of about liberals and the liberal establishment, knowing nothing and having no political experience and like being a waitress in a bar and, in LA. And she, got big and then bigger and then bigger and then bigger. And then now Bridget has like a huge social media presence and she's interviewing all kinds of celebrities. It's like, Twitter is where it's at. I mean, you're right. It's an amazing thing. But Musk owns it. And Musk is an idiot.
Mm-hmm. The EU went after Musk for this, and Washington Post asked KGP if the White House was planning on combating this disinformation, but the EU has been sending threatening things to Musk about this interview in particular, and about spreading information about the UK riots. I think, it's still heroic that there is some discourse happening, and I don't think the Trump campaign could operate at all without Musk owning Twitter, really.
Yeah, can you imagine if it was the old regime at Twitter,
where he was still banned, like he's still banned and he's going to prison, and
oh God. It's interesting, you and I, this show Unregistered, we haven't been punished in more than a year now. And remember last year
on YouTube?
Or YouTube,
anywhere,
mostly YouTube. Yeah, but YouTube. Remember a year ago, it was nonstop. It was like damn near every week we were getting demonetized, shut down, deleted. We had strikes. We almost lost the channel.
Yeah.
We had 2 strikes at one point. Remember, for a long time, we had 2 strikes. We were operating with 2 strikes for many, many months last year. And if we had a 3rd strike, meaning we did something that YouTube didn't like, the channel would have been deleted, the whole thing, and we couldn't get it back. I mean, that's how close we're. But all of 2024, right? Nothing has happened. Not a thing.
Yeah, we've been coasting.
What the hell?
I think Musk is partially responsible for that. Like, he created an alternative, and people knew that they would leave their platform if they didn't wise up. And I think Rumble is responsible for that also. But also,
like the competition, you mean?
Yeah, the competition.
They presented competition to YouTube that forced YouTube to change its ways, or else it was going to lose out. Because I will say, a year ago, the other thing you and I were saying, and especially I was saying, was that Rumble was going to take over. It's going to dominate because it doesn't censor and YouTube does. And I'm sorry to say, YouTube, well, a year later, right now, like Rumble has not grown in relation to YouTube. It's about the same. So it hasn't actually won. But I think that's in part because YouTube, as you're saying, co-opted the resistance, and stopped punishing us.
Yeah.
And now YouTube's a totally fine place for us to be. And we talk all kinds of shit and they don't punish us anymore, but they used to.
Well, we are still siloed away because we only reach like a 20th of our subscribers at best. And we're not reaching any new people through YouTube. That's another big thing is,
However, because we have now employed a new producer for this show, Matt McDermott, you will know if you've looked at the last 2 episodes, we now have chapter titles on. Is it on Rumble too, or is it just YouTube?
It's probably just YouTube. I don't think Rumble has that feature.
Oh, damn. Okay, yeah. So on YouTube, though, if you want to see the subjects that we talk about time-stamped, right, on that timeline, go to YouTube, and that's Matt. He's been doing that work, and he's going to continue to do that. So we are helping people, because, you know, we talk about all kinds of stuff clearly, and some people are interested in certain things more than others. And so we have that feature now. And so I do think we will grow despite the algorithmic suppression that the neoliberal establishment has deployed against us to keep our dissident voices muted in this time of unprecedented political change.
Still, before I want to talk about Google more, but still talking about X and the interview, the content of it. Well, they talked about energy mostly, and you said that Trump said the greatest thing he's ever said his entire career.
I said that.
Yeah, you said that.
I said that in our internal communications between you and me.
Yeah.
I said to you that this was the greatest thing that Trump has ever said.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. Okay, good. Yes, continue. Yes.
And it was Trump saying that the greatest existential threat is not climate change, it is nuclear war. And nuclear war is bad because people die.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Do you want to criticize that, you fucker?
I don't want you to criticize it, but just why is that the best thing he said? You don't have to always criticize. You could also effuse praise upon the great man of history, Donald Trump.
It's a good question. When I heard that, you know, I mean, Trump, whatever. Trump is, I think for everybody, even Trump fans, is there a speech that Trump gives or an interview that Trump gives that you love 100% all the way through? I doubt it. You know, he's mercurial. He's frustrating. He's erratic, inconsistent. But, and including especially during this interview was very odd and disconcerting, and especially mostly because of Elon's incompetence and amateurish interviewing technique, and his sort of like autistic personality. But Trump, you know, there are moments when he says in the midst of these, you know, sort of semi-formulaic press conferences or speeches or whatever, he says things that are just shocking, that only like Noam Chomsky would have said, that only Thad Russell would have said, that Scott Horton would have said, that antiwar.com people would have said, that, you know, anti-war activists since the 1960s would have said, people who've marched in the street against the American empire, only they would have said. And that was one of the things that Trump said in this interview. And he even spent a little time on it. And it was so thrilling and amazing. But then at the end of it, I'm thinking, well, then why do you run for president? And why do you want to be president? And why do you want to send bombs into Syria and Iraq to kill people? But he did say at one point, and I love this, and this is something I've said many times. That's part of why I love it, of course. But he said, you know, everybody's all concerned about climate change this and climate change that. Climate change is so scary and dangerous and it's killing people. And he says, you know, climate change is not nearly as dangerous as this other form of warming known as nuclear warming from a nuclear war. That's going to kill everybody. And he goes on about, you know, that's the real danger that no one talks about. Everyone talks about the danger of climate change, but no one, and this is true, no one is talking about the dangers of nuclear war. We used to. He didn't say this, but I am saying this. You know, when I was coming up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, that was actually the main topic of conversation around foreign policy. And, you know, anybody who was concerned about war, that's what we talked about, because we knew that there were these missiles and bombs all over the damn world that could kill everybody at a moment's notice. And so we were very, very concerned about that. And Donald Trump is the only person, and I mean this person, in the world who has mentioned this other than me. The anti-war movement doesn't talk about it. The pro-Palestine movement doesn't talk about it. The anti-NATO movement doesn't talk about it. No one talks about nuclear war and the absolute urgent need to preclude it. No one talks about that except for Donald Trump and your boy. But he sure did in this interview, and it was a really stunning, kind of exciting moment. And of course, Elon Musk, with his little 16-year-old autistic mind, couldn't say anything about it. But I do urge everyone, I think it's around 40 or 50 minutes into the interview when Trump does this. I might be wrong about that, somewhere around there. It's a really amazing moment. And what it tells me, again, and this is what I've been hearing, there's these moments in Trump, like, again and again, it's fairly consistent since 2015. I've heard them over and over again, like a real anti-war soul talking. And I mean this. That dude has the same feeling about war and really about the American empire and about imperialism in general. He really does. His heart, I do think it's really similar to mine. I really do. I really think he just doesn't like that stuff, and he wants to stop it, and he wants America to just be a regular country. And he doesn't like all these wars. He doesn't like Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. He doesn't like any of that stuff. He wants a big, strong military, which I'm not even necessarily opposed to, so long as it stays at home. But he just really, he has this instinctual reaction to imperialism. He doesn't use that term, but I think he does. And Trump, and it's an amazing thing. There's never been a president. There's never been a senator. There's never been a U.S. senator with that gut feeling. And I'm talking about it's gut, it's visceral stuff here. That's what I saw in Trump that was fundamentally different from the beginning than any other major U.S. politician ever. Still, he just showed that again in this interview with Elon Musk. He is not with that fundamental religion of the American political establishment. He doesn't like the American empire. And that's why they have tried to kill him. And it showed up in this interview. It was dope.
That's another piece that's been memory hold, or another massive historical story like the Nord Stream pipeline that has been memory hold. I still can't believe that the assassination attempt is not even discussed in news at all. Like,
well, let's just do that. I mean, I was just thinking the other day, like, what? Wait, what? I woke up one morning. I was like, wait a second. In the last, what is it, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, Trump nearly had his head blown off.
Mm-hmm.
Biden was forced out.
Yeah.
Kamala became the new candidate. A whole campaign for her emerged like overnight. What else? This is just in the last, what? When was Trump shot? What was that? 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, 4 weeks ago, pretty much.
And like no one's talking about Trump's assassination attempt.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most epic things in American political history.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
If somebody gets a shot off, that's like usually something that has to be in a history book. Like, especially if it makes contact, like it did. Like,
I mean, the whole thing with the picture and the fist and the, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, and no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
Imagine. Let's everyone just think about this for 1 second. If that were Barack Obama. It's Barack Obama, 2008. And he gets shot in the ear. Just like that. And he stands up and says, fight. Can you well, he wouldn't say fight, but let's just say he did. Can you imagine?
Fight.
What?
Oh, well.
You got frozen. What?
Oh, I got frozen. Am I still here? Yeah. Am I back? Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. The guys on Timeline Earth were talking about this and saying that Trump is losing momentum in his campaign because after he got shot, he chose a unity platform instead of castigating his opponents. So he wanted to be this peaceful unity, brother love. I'm the I'm the president of all of America. We need to take the temperature down. When he should have capitalized on being shot in the face to say, people out there want to kill me. It's time to crush my enemies. There are horrible people out there. He should have.
Don't exaggerate cult of personality, man. He was shot in the ear, not in the face. And he was just shot in the little piece of it was taken off. No big deal. I'm sorry, continue. So Trump became the unity guy instead of, he should have been the belligerent guy.
Yes, because we're past unity. Like, unity doesn't sell. It's boring. Nobody cares. The lines are already drawn. What you have to do is, create an enemy, highlight the enemy, and then you will get more allies because people hate that enemy. Like, there are more people who hate the Democrats or hate Kamala or hate libtards, hate low testosterone males, whatever you want to blame it on. People hate the CIA. There are more people who hate all those things than there are like Republicans or like Donald Trump.
Wait a second now. Trump said this after he was shot?
After he was shot, especially at the,
at the RNC.
And the RNC was very much a unity, and his speech was very much a unity message.
National unity, like
National
everyone.
Unity.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Good. Thank you. So here we go. So, all you MAGA people, all you Trump people, all you libertarians with MAGA sympathies who like Trump secretly or not secretly, when he was shot and he raised his fist and said, fight, those feelings you had, man, I know that felt good. Because you were like, and I saw this in all these people. Oh, confirmation, my boy is good. This is the one. I'm right. This guy is so fucking brave, He's so fucking brave. Even when he's shot in the fucking head, he will raise his fist and say, fight on a stage. And I agree. Physical courage, no doubt about it, And they also took it as proof, once again, or final determinative proof that Trump is an actual revolutionary, an actual radical, someone who is actually devoted to taking down the establishment. What it looked like to me, I get it, And yeah, you're right. I remember this at the RNC and in other speeches right after this. What did he do, though? After he gets shot in the ear, he takes it down. He starts talking about unity, national unity, and reaching out to his enemies and building bridges and all the he sounds like a liberal.
Yeah. And he's definitely moderating on policy.
It's Trump's liberal moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, again, I've never been shot in the ear or anywhere, but I would imagine that might make you scared enough to say, mommy, establishment, I'm not actually leaving you because I need my protection from my mommy. And I mean it. Like, I think that there's a moment there that he got so scared, like, oh shit, it became really real for him what the stakes are of being a dissident, a real dissident at that level are. And I think you're right. I think he said at that moment, he said, yeah, it's okay. I don't really mean it. I'm actually one of you guys. I'm part of the family.
Have you been paying attention to the Groyper War?
God.
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes and the company?
Yeah. Trying to boycott Trump or hurt his campaign until he makes certain concessions or fires his campaign manager, reconsiders Vance as VP. But the big one and the good one, which is promise not to go to war with Iran. Whenever Trump talks about Iran, it makes me, that's the one time I think Trump is really stupid and just listens to his advisors or listens to the CIA on something, is whenever he talks about Iran. He seems to have publicly bought that Iran hacked his campaign this year and that Iran might be behind the assassination attempt. He's talked about that when no, dude, it's the CIA and libtards who tried to kill you. It's not. Yeah.
I think it was less than an hour after Trump was shot in the ear. I mean, I think it was that day, maybe the next morning at the latest, that the CIA and the intelligence services all came out with this Iran story about Iran planning an assassination attempt at Trump, basically trying to blame Iran for this thing, and also sort of planting again in the minds of people. And Jesus, man, I know, and this sounds crazy, but I'm positive that AIPAC planted that. Like AIPAC or one of the Israeli lobby groups told CIA, FBI, whoever, whichever intelligence agency was part of that this is something we'd like to say. We'd like to say that Iran, what timing, right? Amazing timing. At the very exact moment that Israel and Iran are going back and forth with missiles, and everybody is waiting for this war between Israel and Iran to jump off, we hear that Iran is actually responsible for trying to kill Trump, and they have had multiple assassination attempts against Trump. Why in the fucking world would Iran benefit from killing Trump? How on earth would that help them? Do you think they're that stupid that they don't realize that if they killed Trump, it would actually make things worse for them? Because we would all then, Americans, would want to go to war with Iran because, oh my God, they're killing our politicians. Do we not think that the guy who replaces Trump as the head of the Republican Party would be just as anti-Iran, or maybe probably more anti-Iran? Of course, Iran is not going to try to assassinate Donald Trump. That is just the dumbest shit in the goddamn fucking world. They've been busy for the last 20 years building a military network in the Middle East, across the Middle East, and in their own country to drive the United States military out of the Middle East. That's a big project, huge project. That's why Trump killed Soleimani. Soleimani was the head of that project. That's what they've been really busy doing, guys, which is like the serious work that needs to be done, kicking out this foreign occupying force of the whole region, something that like everyone should be in favor of, by the way. That's what Iran's been doing. It has taken massive, sustained, generational resources, wealth, energy to do this thing. And we are seeing its realization now in these fights with Israel, the Houthis, the Iraq militias, Hezbollah, etc. Would Iran think it's a good idea to just go in and assassinate Donald Trump because he was like a little bit more belligerent than other American leaders? How would that benefit them? Oh, America would say, oh gosh, they're going to kill our leaders if we don't treat them nice. This is an obvious CIA fabrication. Mm-hmm. And yet so much of the right wing believes it.
Well, Trump dies and then Nikki Haley is the nominee. That's exactly what Iran wants, is President Nikki Haley, right?
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's just, oh my. Mm-hmm. And so, AIPAC has planted this because Netanyahu and the Israeli government has been trying to get us to go to war with Iran for 40 years, since 1979. The Israeli government has been the ones who have determined in American political discourse, they've led this, they've initiated it, and they've renewed it over and over and over again. Iran is the enemy. Iran is the enemy. Iran is the threat. Iran is going to destroy a Western civilization. And of course, they're like not a threat to anything for us at all. But this, again, is a Zionist project, and we are falling for it.
What do you? This was like a little minor scandal, not even a scandal, but the gray zone. They Max Blumenthal used the term Zog, Z-O-G.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, that's a term that you would only hear David Duke use 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. That is a term that only white supremacists with email mailing lists. Like those are the dark web people. You would only hear them say that. So the easy way to frame this, which is how liberals are framing it, is, oh my goodness, the left is just as anti-Semitic as we always thought they were, even if they are Jewish. They are deranged and they hate the state of Israel because they're anti-Semitic. But my point is, leftists who criticize the state of Israel, the people who did it for the longest are these racist anti-Semites. They laid the foundation for you. They're the only people who made these criticisms before, when it was at great social cost. And you should at least respect your lineage there.
Hold on. What are you saying, Grand Wizard?
Okay.
What's happening here?
Yeah.
The haircut, the haircut, and then like it just, that's what the haircut unleashed you. Is that what's happening here?
Yeah.
It's just,
well, I have a personal thing. I have a personal little gripe with Max Blumenthal because he started out, what was it, the SPLC, or going against David Irving, and here he is talking about dog.
Yeah, is that true? I mean, you told me that Max started out working for the SPLC, which is terrible, but he's so anti-SPLC now. It's like he's redeemed himself. But hold on. So Max Blumenthal of the Gray Zone said recently, and has said basically, that like he thinks the old like right-wing anti-Semitic trope, of people like David Duke, that there is a Zionist occupation government in the United States that is, of course, run, that Israel, the government of Israel, and Zionists generally have an undue influence, controlling influence within the United States. And that was dismissed and laughed at by damn near everybody, even on the hardcore left and the hardcore libertarian left. Anti-Israel people laughed at that stuff. Anti-Zionists laughed at that stuff. And we said, no, come on. There's no Jewish conspiracy that's controlling American politics. Well, since October 7th, and I was one of those people. Since October 7th, I'm like, oh my God, no, there's a fucking Jewish conspiracy. Zionist conspiracy inside this country that is like not just running like U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, which it is, but it has control of the fucking police departments in New York City and Los Angeles. And they can get you arrested for protesting if they want. And they prove that. And it's terrifying. I had no idea that the Israel lobby was this powerful until this last year. I just didn't know. But now we know. Max, too. He didn't know. I mean,
you could have just taken what the Nazis said at face value this whole time. You could have just, you could have just.
That's helpful.
That's what I'm saying. Is you could have just said, David Duke, I'm sorry, you were right, I was wrong. I just want to hear these people say it finally.
About what?
About the influence of Israel.
Careful. Okay, good. Yeah. Good.
And I mean, I think there are other questions to explore that might be cultural or biological, that there might be something with the collective practices or people that make up this ethno-state. And I think that those claims are not necessarily crazy, but they actually need to be considered. If you're going to read the Bible and say, hey, look what the Bible tells us about Christendom, about Europe and Western civilization.
Hava Nagila. Are you talking about my fucking people?
I'm just saying.
Wait. No. Wait. No, actually, Weimer.
Yeah.
It's a German name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, funny. It's interesting. How strange. You're making a deeper claim here. You're not talking about my people. You're talking about my biology. You are you not? Are you suggesting that Jewish biology is distinct and malevolent?
there are many ways to look into this claim.
Yes. What?
Yeah.
Are you gonna do some science now? Is that what? How you're gonna prove this?
Well, I'm not necessarily too much into the,
is this like chemistry equations? Like, what are you gonna?
Well,
science, right? You're gonna prove that my DNA is more likely to produce international banker communists than nice things.
I wasn't gonna go for the DNA thing personally.
I'm 1/4 more likely to create George Soros than you are.
I'm just saying.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that people. What? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's hear it, Mangala. What?
Yeah. Well, so there.
Stop stammering. Just say it.
Yeah. So the distinction between Zionist and Jewish, right? Like,
yes,
people are trying to call that distinction. I mean, you in particular are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, the question: what is Jewish?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you fucking talk? What are you nervous about?
Yeah.
Just talk.
Well, okay.
Come on, let's hear it. What?
Yeah. I was saying this before, but if you can read the Bible, okay.
Yes.
And say there are things about the Bible that tell us how Christendom, how European governments operate. If you can make criticisms about Christianity, about Western civilization, if you can do that, if you can read the Quran and say things about Muslim society, say things about Muslim theocracy, all that, you should be able to read the Talmud, for example, or read the Old Testament and draw conclusions about the cultural practices of the ethno-state that is founded on that.
Okay. You know I love you, right?
Yeah.
But this is passive aggressive.
It's not.
You need to tell no. Right now, you need to just say to everyone what's the problem with the Jews.
I'm saying that there's this theory that the dregs of society.
It's pronounced Weimar, isn't it? It's Weimar.
Yeah.
Weimar.
Notice who's being racist here. Notice who's immediately going to who's making racial accusations. Oh, it's your name means something. That means that
Weimar.
you have these attitudes.
It's something.
Right?
It's sort of like it's always with that spirit. Weimar. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What's that?
So the people who
something about Jews. You were saying something about Jews.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, why can't you get your point out? Interrupting somebody. You act like I've never been on the playground or in the back of the bus before. Like I know this tactic, but yeah.
Continue. We're all listening.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
actually, it's funny. You could be like both a skinhead and an Auschwitz convict right now. Just
yeah. You should see me take my shirt off. There's unfortunately no Nazi tattoo, but there is a exposed rib cage.
I can speak to that.
Yeah,
it's true. Okay, so that's good. That's kind of multicultural.
Well,
in other words,
again, what I'm saying is there are people. Some historian came up with this theory that there are people who exist at the very lowest dregs of society push the discourse forward. That it's a renegade theory is what I'm getting at, and that the people who are beneath contempt in society, the people who are willing to be the most radical, actually come up on things first. Often, the people who aren't willing to be called crazy. Right. And the worst thing you can be in society is a white supremacist, is an anti-Semite, is a Jew hater, all those things. Gotcha. And those were the people who were the first to come up with these complex criticisms of Israel.
Gotcha.
And maybe we shouldn't castigate them and pretend that we're superior to them when we're stealing their whole playbook. They were right this whole time. At least.
Oh, shit. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I want everybody to like just sit with that right now.
Like,
that is
I saw David Duke on CNN like raving about the Jews and their influence, and raving about the influence of AIPAC. And then he called Wolf Blitzer to his face. Hey,
all
you're
true.
part of this conspiracy too. You
All
used
true.
to be a lobbyist for AIPAC. And I'm like, David Duke is crazy. That's no way that's true. Looked it up. It's true.
All true.
It's absolutely true.
All true.
Yeah.
Alex Jones and David Duke are right about everything.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, in a like a big way, even like from a liberal Berkeley version point of view, they are. Like even from a radical socialist point of view, David Duke and Alex Jones are right about almost everything. In terms of their analysis, now their prescriptions, certainly David Duke's prescriptions for how society should be arranged. Okay, we can differ on that one. But the analysis of where we're living now, David Duke is way, way above almost everyone else as a social analyst. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just have a perfect personal gripe with Max Blumenthal because he started his career at the SPLC. At one point, he was going after David Irving. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And now here he is copying that underground lingo, trying to be cool. Like,
God, man.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should go to David Irving's site. I think he still has a website. What's it called? The Institute for Historical Inquiry or something like that. He has a whole website with all of his, I believe, all of his work, his writing, his books, which he couldn't publish because he was like, of course, put in prison, etc. It is, I'll say this, I've always said this, I'll say this forever. It is like, it's the best historical work on the Holocaust I've ever seen. I mean, the research, the sourcing, it's astonishing, like what he found. And he did not deny the Holocaust. He denied the official narrative of the Holocaust. He did not deny that Jews were killed in masses. He denied that they were killed in the ways in which it has been claimed they were killed, and for the reasons that it has been claimed they were killed. His work it's the best work I've ever seen as a scholar, as an academic historian that I've ever seen on that subject. And everyone should go to his site and read everything they can of David Irving, who recently died, I believe, after having spent years, I believe, in prison for writing these books about World War II. And that concludes the Nazi Hour podcast. Thank you for joining me, Helmut.
Yeah.
We will be joined by our comrades next week who will go over our plans for building cadres across the United States. We're going to seize the state governments and then begin the final solution. All right. So, everyone, thanks for tuning in. And we have 5 minutes. No, wait, hold on. The Ukraine invaded Russia.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Who cares? Speaking of Nazis, Kursk, the Kursk area, I don't have all the specific information about this, but it just speaks to the fanaticism. I think this speaks to the fanaticism of the Western foreign policy leaders, mostly, that Ukraine at this stage in the game, having clearly lost the war for more than a year now, meaning they're in no military position to ever win this war, that at this point they would decide to actually launch an incursion into Russian territory. I don't even know what the objective was here. I haven't followed this as closely as maybe I should, but this, again, it speaks to the fanaticism of the Western support for the Ukraine in this war.
The analysis I've heard is Ukraine is trying to take unprotected Russian territory so that they'll have land to negotiate with once Russia comes to the negotiating table.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I know, but like it's all throwing darts at a board. I mean, they have no leverage, they have no power. It's a Hail Mary. Yes, right. It was an attempt to capture something, to have some leverage, some bargaining power in the peace negotiations that are going to come imminently, but it's a disaster for them. All right, I got to go.
Yep.
We got some peoples here, but we are going to go to Unregistered Live in 2 minutes. And if you would like to join us and hang out, it's our after show every Thursday. It's extremely naughty. It mostly is a live sex show. And then we do like reviews of drugs from the dark web and live sex show. Let's see what else. Yeah, no, that's what it is. So you should become a member for $5. Can you imagine that? You get to watch a live sex show with like drug reviews for $5 a month. Go to patreon.com/unregistered. No, it's actually just me and Michael hanging out, talking. There might be drugs and there might be like talk about sex, but it's just hanging out. No, I love it. It's every Thursday night. We've been doing this for like 5 years now. It's the highlight of my week. If you want to join us, go to patreon.com/unregistered. Become a member at any level. $5 a month will get you in. You can click on the Zoom link to Zoom meeting. We hang out every Thursday night. So do it. Support the show. Have fun. Get to know us. Get to know our community. Make some friends. It's awesome. Michael, thank you, man. I'm sorry you're so anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm. This was the point I was going to make about the misogyny thing, is that like,
yeah.
How have you people not learned this? That like, anti-Semitism, racism, misogyny means nothing, and it's nothing but a bullying tactic, and it's the most anti-intellectual thing ever in the world to do. It's a way of dismissing an argument outright. It should be laughed at, and the strategy I always do is just double down on it, because like you're not a serious person if all you do is throw epithets when you hear an argument. Like
100%.
Yeah,
it's anti-intellectual. That's all. It's always been. That's all it's ever been, and that's why I've hated it. Agreed.
All
okay,
right,
brother.
Yeah,
gotta go.
Woman hating report will be on the other side here.
Yeah. How to hate women.
Yeah.
Don't you hate women? Okay. Peace.
Peace.